The next talk is from Johannes Raggam, and it's with the title Ajaxify Plone, Building a Single-Page Application in Classic UI. Sounds interesting. Go ahead.
Okay, thanks for showing up at this talk, which is about, hey mom, look, I made an Ajax request, but I'm still excited about that. By the way, I work at syslab.com, and yeah, let's just jump into this topic. A second, I have a new version of the slide. I just show you now what I've did as a jump into this topic. Here you see just a standard Plone site, and it's also behaving just like normal. Each page makes, each navigation makes a full page reload. And if I open the network inspector, make that maybe a little bit smaller, and then we see, yeah, just a normal Plone site as you would expect. And now I have made an add-on which can easily be installed, which I will just explain what it does later, but for you to see the effect, that is called Collective Ajaxify. And now with that, it should be a little bit faster. So the site is now reloading without full page reloads, and also if you see here, the size of the HTML which is coming back is really tiny, 5 kilobytes versus 50 kilobytes from before. And also the toolbar, when the toolbar is reloaded, yeah. I did not only experiment and did this experiment on this non-production site, but I actually did it for a pet project, so to say, which I'm maintaining since really a long time. I think almost 23 years already. And this site is quite fast with that. It is working locally, but it's not so different if you check it directly on the internet. And also the page, the payload which is downloaded is quite tiny. So, how is this? First, a bit of history. I just wanted to talk a bit of this project, Schule für Dichtung. This is the Vienna Poetry School. And it is about bringing together artists and poets with audiences, and they organize a lot of workshops and courses and readings and stuff like that. And there are some big names which already visited the Schule für Dichtung, like Allen Ginsberg was there, Jandl and etc. H.C. Artmann, if you know them from Vienna. Falco, maybe someone knows his name. He had a big hit in the 80s, I think. Rock Me Amadeus. And for Blixer Bargeld from the Einstürzenden Neubauten, and also Nick Cave, people like that were there and holding classes together with students which were interested in getting something, some fresh input about writing and so. There are online and offline courses. These are two links where you can see all these different people who has taught at the Schule für Dichtung and the program which goes back to 1998. So it was founded in 1992, and in the web it was even 1997 maybe. That was a Perl-based CMS. Looked like that. And in 2002 it was changed to a SOAP CM Z classes based website. Not by me, but this was around the time when I joined the company where I was working back then, Atelier für digitale Medien. and my first contact with SOAP, and it was totally obscure. I hated it. I thought it's an invention from Microsoft to prevent people to get productive, but I stick to it. It was, I think we did even a Plone 2 release in between, but I can't remember anymore. At least Plone 4 was, the site was released in Plone 4 in 2010. And in 2019, we were talking about we should now really getting this website mobile friendly, which it wasn't. And this year, in 2025, the relaunch happened. It is now mobile friendly, and it is also using this, as I showed before, this Ajaxification of the whole site. The relaunch motivation was it should be mobile friendly and a technology upgrade. Also, this old technology from Plone 4 was preventing me getting forward. And my own motivation was that was the first website when I started working on it in my free time, which was Classic UI based. So I was working a lot with Classic UI on the background with Patternslib and mockup, rewrite, everything, but never had a project where I could try it out. And that was the reason I chose Classic UI over Volto. And also, if I had to do something in my free time, I also want to have a playground for experiments. Therefore, this Ajaxification, which no one asked for, but I was just wanting to try that finally out, that idea. That was the motivation. So how it is done? It's a pet inject trick, actually. Pet inject is from the Patternslib. It's an Ajax pattern where you can fetch something from the backend and inject it in the front end. You find a lot of demos at patternslib.com. This should now load some demos here. There are quite some useful patterns like, we have a calendar, we have a carousel. The depends pattern is used in Plone also for, or at least we have some support in easy form, which the depends pattern just shows some form inputs if, depending on the value of other form inputs, we have a date picker here and the inject pattern. You declare with the inject pattern the Ajax behavior in HTML. And this is an example. You have to, of course, include the Patternslib library. Here it is done via JS deliver. But actually in Plone, in Classic Plone, it's just already there. Not the whole Patternslib, but the pet inject pattern for sure. And this is a pet inject example. You define the URL where you want to fetch something. And you have to give ensure the pet inject class, because that is the trigger where the library searches for elements which fit that trigger, fit that class, and then the functionality is initialized on it. And you also need to define a source and the target CSS selector with some specialities, which I will show you later. But this is just a standard CSS selector. So from the source, the thing which is fetched from the backend, there is a profile card summary element searched, and that is injected into this about me element down here. And this is actually fetching from some remote site. So I had to use a coarse proxy stuff, but I just wanted to try it out that way. So if I click here, and if the internet connection is okay, then something pops up here. That actually took some time, because I think of Volto rendering this thing on the backend or so, and then delivering it to the server. Yes, let's go on. For this specific idea, which I experimented with this Ajaxification idea, I had to do some hacks, and this is those hacks tricks. I will show you what I did. If you recall this example from before, this trigger here, the pet inject, that is in standard inject pattern a bit limited, so you can only use it on forms with pet inject, on subforms, but it is not so important. at least for Plone, and on anchors. And what if we change the trigger to something? This shows you the standard trigger. This is the standard configuration of the inject pattern, and it only searches for a bat inject, form bat inject, and bat subform bat inject. And what if we change that to catch just all links on the website? And this is done like that. This overrides this standard trigger so that any element which contains an anchor element which is on the same domain will be selected. So the same domain, you don't want to inject some external links. But of course, that's not everything, because actually it's the trigger looks like that. I go quickly through it. This is just what I talked before. Any link is selected. But we also want to have explicit bat inject links still working. So that is that selector. And you see, there's an error in it because there's a colon missing, which I fixed today in code, but not in the presentation yet. Anyways, these are the exceptions to this previous trigger, to this trigger here. So you don't also want to inject files, and this is the configuration which prevents that. It does not catch any file, because if you have some file like, I don't know what, markdown file, and directly referenced without a few URL or so, that would not work yet. But this is something I have to think about. Maybe there I can just prevent from, without having to list each file extension. Then we have in Bootstrap those drop-down buttons, which are actually anchors, which actually should have been buttons semantically, because they don't lead anywhere except they just open the drop-down. And so that the inject statement doesn't break there or something weird happens, that needs also to be excluded. Also the autodocs, where you switch between form tabs in Plone, that needs to be excluded. And what's down here? I'll make it a bit smaller. This rule from here until here should also not catch the explicitly set bat inject links. And last but not least, something which I'm not using yet, but if you want to explicitly say it should not, I think I can leave it out. It maybe makes no sense, but you could say the bat inject trigger should just not fetch this or catch this element. No, it makes sense. I leave it in. Okay. There are also some markup changes necessary, because the current main template, where I actually put the bat inject class, does not contain it. So the relevant changes are here. Actually, this bat inject class, this what we see is a snippet of the main template, of the standard Plone main template, which I copied over and made the relevant changes. So the bat inject class is just defined on the body, and then there's this bat inject configuration in standard Plone main template-based pages, or standard main template-based pages. We have always the portal column content element in the source and in the source and in the target. Yeah. So the thing which you are already looking at on your browser has the portal column content, because it was just loaded before. And if you load something from the backend with the main template and also the main template Ajax, which is something else which I will soon talk about, have these elements. And this contains just the content which you want to show. There's this history record, the history record statement. This makes the following. It changes the URL in the URL bar in the browser. That is a feature of bat inject. and it just does a history push. And I'm not sure if the scroll top is even working. I had the impression it is not, but if you navigate through the site and load some new content, you don't want to be at the scroll position where you had been before. You want to jump to the beginning, and this would be the thing. Finally, same problem with React or Vue.js routers. There you also have a similar configuration option that you jump on the top if you load something new, or if the root changes. And the source and head title you want to have in the head section of your HTML page before the body. There's this title element. You want also to change that, and this is done with that. So those statements are concatenated. And there could even be more, like the navigation. The navigation element which you might want to change, or the canonical item, and so on. So it even has to be tested a bit more, but it is already in production for this Schule für Dichtung site. A different thing, because I did completely customize the main template, not using the ASO there, and yeah, because I think main template modifications are totally fine. Except if you have a library like this, Collective Ajax, which relies on specific selectors. But yeah, anyways. Yeah, one more thing. Normally, if you don't append this query string Ajax underline load equals 1, which was not even working in Plone 6 until recently at all, but in Plone 5 it was, then the main template Ajax would not be used. All the Ajax requests would just use the whole main template, which includes a lot of stuff which you don't need to reload every time, like the toolbar. Okay, the toolbar needs to be reloaded, but it's better if it's separately reloaded. And I don't know, there's the whole page has, for a standard Plone site, around 50 kilobytes, and if you use the main template Ajax, it has 5. So it's obviously faster to use the Ajax main template. And there's a new setting in Plone, which came in just, I think, in August. That was a long-running pull request, and Alessandro Pisa and David Klick helped me out finishing that and polishing it and bringing it into Plone, and now it's there. So if that is true, then Ajax requests will automatically be detected. And if the time permits, I will show you later how that is done. Yeah, the pull requests are referenced here now. Yeah, that's, is it everything? Okay, no, it's not everything, because I have still 18 minutes, 40 minutes to go. Anyways, I will show you, I can now show you those two pull requests, what they are doing. This is the first thing, better I show you the other thing first. In Plone Up Layout, there is now a little helper in the, where is it? In the Plone layout view, in this globally available Plone layout view. And this helper just detects if a request is an Ajax request, and it does it by checking the self-request object. If there is an HTTP _x _requested _with attribute set, and that equals to XHTML HTTP request. That is 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, I have to level up a bit, but this is done by many or most of the JavaScript frameworks, like jQuery does it, and we actually still use jQuery in Patternslib, and also other frameworks are doing that. Most of the it's like a common understanding, but no standard actually. And if that is checked, then if that returns true, then we can, in the main template, which I was talking a lot yet, do the following. We can load the Ajax template in case of an Ajax request, or the main template in the normal main template, which loads everything in case of an non-Ajax request. Yeah, here is the method which is checking that. You also have some other options if Ajax load is set, that always gets precedence and so. And yeah, that's the most important thing now. This whole code was, I have this episode I put on collective. It's probably one of the listed on the top because I just pushed it yesterday. You can try it out in your own Plone site and see if it's working, if everything is Ajaxified. I would love to get some feedback because I don't have many sites to test it on actually, except the Plone, standard Plone installation and the Schule-Verdichtung stuff. And the other stuff where I want to try it out, that would be probably a bit more work, like Quave, because we use pet inject massively there. And yeah. Yeah, I would love to get some feedback on that. How many minutes do we have? Because there are still some topics to cover. 3 minutes, okay. Then just briefly, the toolbar is also reloading automatically, more or less, because it is doing it like that. There is a, let me see if I find quickly the repository. No, there is in Patternslib. Now we are in Patternslib. There's a polyfills thing here. Well, I just erased it. Polyfills, which adds some features to browsers which are not yet supported. And actually the navigation event is one of those polyfills which is still more or less necessary. I don't remember which browser has, Firefox and Safari, here it is noted. At least a year ago it was, soon 2 years ago it was the case. I have to recheck if the navigation event is supported. So what it does is it changes the URL it fires an event if the URL is changed that way. So anytime the URL is changed, an event is fired. And this event is then used in mockup, in the toolbar. I have a branch here, which I'm using for those projects. Also, if you check out collective Ajaxify, this build is used instead of the normal mockup Plone build. And this is reloading the toolbar on a navigation event, on a navigate event here. And the toolbar was yet reloaded only dynamically only if you change the path in the structure pattern. So if you navigate in folder contents around, the toolbar is also reloaded. And I removed that code part because now it's only this navigate event. And this makes it possible that the toolbar is always up to date when you navigate through your site with Ajax. And also, the base URL is something which is necessary. A new pattern actually which sets the data minus base minus URL on the body tag, because you also want to have that updated. And there are maybe other things, also the canonical URL, maybe, I don't know, if you really need that. And if you need it, it's probably better to use a specific pat inject source and target statement, because that, yeah, anyways. And yeah, that's basically it. Thank you for your attention.
Questions, at least there, go ahead and give the mic.
Thanks. Will this also work if the static resources change? Because you can have in the resources tool, you can have conditions, and then some resource bundles will not be there.
For that, you would have to render the resources also in the main template Ajax, and then if it changes, or just put that what is rendered there into the head of the main template with an inject statement. But yes, this could be something which I would avoid when developing a site, actually. I know sometimes you need it, but we also use it just for switching themes, so that would not change for the whole session or so, the resources. But for specific sites, I would just avoid it. And Patternslib provides the means to avoid that in a structured manner. Like you can just, if you have some special pattern popping up in your DOM structure, Patternslib is loading that normally asynchronously. So there's So the fear of having a too big download asset stuff or too much downloaded JavaScript resources, which are nowhere used except for some pages, is with Patternslib not so an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? I may have one. What kind of a future vision or your roadmap do you think you're having with this?
That is actually only relevant for these backend rendered Plone sites, Classic UI, and it depends on its future. I think I would personally want to try that out with that technique with much more sites, because I love if websites are responsive and snappy and not loading too much resources. Yeah, I think it could be part of Plone. I don't know if I would put it into core Plone. I don't know. It's also too early because there needs more testing, and it also modifies the main template, at least this add-on package. Yeah. Future. I think I try to use it in the future. I also my plan is to Ajaxify Quave fully. I mean, there's a lot of Ajaxification already. We use Inject a lot, inject a lot. But there are some cases where a full page reload is done or where the URL does not change, and I want to actually get rid of those parts.
Thank you. Let's give an applause to Johannes.